Welcome to Talking Down the Highway, Beach Boys podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Glenn.
I'm Tim, and that was Bowie the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, how are you guys doing lately?
Yeah.
It's been a while.
It's been a while since we saw
Swell.
each other, man.
Yeah.
Swell.
I shaved my beard off and grew a whole new one.
But you're still not wearing pants.
Still not wearing pants. I'm saving up, you know.
Okay.
We're bad actors. We literally just
layaway.
finished recording episode 1. We went upstairs, got some root beer, and now we're back at it for episode 2. And you know what? Yep. Like bastards. We made you all wait a week for it. But that's how you build an audience, they say.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
By being mean to them.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Normally, like, when we come back for the next episode, it will have been a week or two or whatever. And Tim will have shaved and regrown an entire beard because he does that, actually. People don't know this about Tim. He shaves nightly.
I shave every day, and by 5 o'clock, I've got the full beard
Yeah.
again.
It's bizarre.
And if I don't, I take
Weird.
someone else's beard.
Yeah. You know what else is bizarre? The Beach Boys.
What?
They are fucking weird.
Yeah.
So weird.
It's cool.
And this episode, it's not our first. It is episode 2.
We've done this before.
Yeah, we've done this.
It's not our first.
But it feels in a way like the first. Because really, I think when we envisioned Talking Down the Highway, the thought was we want to just kind of go through the catalog, you know? We want to go through every Beach Boys record.
Yeah.
And then we heard some of those records and we're like,
yeah.
do we really want to do this? But you
Yes,
know what?
we do.
We are determined.
We are determined.
We're going to make it happen. And so in a way, this almost kind of feels like episode 1. Like that whole last one was just, hey,
This is what we're doing.
this is what we're going to do. And now we're going to start doing what we're doing.
Episode 1 was a prequel.
Hey.
This is episode 4, Star Wars: A New Hope.
We'll go back and do.
Eventually, we'll do episode 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So this is album 1, Surfin' Safari.
We're not going to
today.
get into the album just yet. We got to
Right.
do some of our typical introduction stuff. For those of you who remember us from the Strange Currencies podcast, award-winning, billions of listeners, Strange
Billions.
Currencies podcast.
We're hoping some of them will filter over.
Some
Pretty
of them.
sure it's in the Library of Congress at this point.
It is. So anyway, like we used to open up with, "Hey, what are you drinking?" And we definitely have to do that today. We're theme drinking right now.
We are theme drinking.
And I'm drinking. Neither of you guys are drinking.
I'm drinking. I got an ounce. I'm drinking.
Oh, okay, all right.
I'm chug-a-lugging over here.
Tim's being a baby over there.
Well, I got a mug full of frosty goodness right here.
Frosty chocolate milkshake.
Wait, no.
Oh, okay.
We are all drinking various forms of root beer today.
Yeah.
Chug-a-lug.
Root beer.
Just pump it through my veins. I gotta have it.
I'm
Like Brian's into the tunes. Dennis is looking to see what's under the hood. But I need, for my survival, I have got to have some fucking root beer.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You're obsessed, you might say.
It's my drug.
The-
it's my everything.
Hey, I have in my notes.
It's
over
both
here,
my drug and my anti-drug. Did you know that?
Matt, I have in my notes here. I don't think we talked about this, but I have down that we should do a segment.
Oh, no. You hold that thought, Glenn. Here he is again, getting ahead of himself.
You were setting that up. What are you talking about?
So not yet. We have to at least talk about the album, like introduce the idea that
You're being a real
here's
Murray
an album,
here.
and here's oh, wait a minute.
I can't hear out of my right ear all of a sudden.
Thanks to somebody.
Thanks to somebody.
Hit Glenn upside the head with a board, a 2x4.
I have in my notes here that during this first episode, I should drink some Dad's root beer. So that's what I'm drinking. I'm drinking Dad's root beer.
We're all
I
drinking-
hope I don't get beat for drinking Dad's root beer.
Ooh,
But
too soon.
But too soon. But this is like
what?
What is this? A 74-ounce mug over here?
74.
What is this?
63.
Rollerplex League champion.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
I fucking earned that
Yeah,
with
you
my
did.
sweat and tears. That's what's usually in that mug, too,
Gross.
by the way.
Oh, gross.
Yep.
Well, it's Dad's root beer today, and it's delicious. Pure cane sugar, apparently.
I'm drinking some of this Teddy's.
Yeah.
Okay.
May or may not be a shot of Elijah Craig.
Ooh, okay,
There
yeah.
may or may not be 2 shots of Elijah Craig.
Hey.
It's good.
Well,
I like it. This is a good combo,
I
actually.
mean, Teddy was probably a dad.
Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt? Oh, yeah, he is.
Elijah Craig, probably a dad.
Yeah.
Probably.
Nothing goes better in a dad than bourbon.
Yep. Makes sense.
Murray would approve, I guess.
Murray would approve.
What was he a drunkard?
Sure.
I mean, you
don't know.
kind of maybe have to figure. But every once in a while, some of those really creepy fucking people, they're like teetotalers. You know, they don't drink at all. Like, yeah.
I don't know. I think he's square.
Yeah.
He just creepy.
Some people are capable of being assholes without alcohol.
True.
Yeah.
Well, hey, let's go ahead and take a break, and when we come back,
See, now I think you're jumping the gun.
Hold on
now.
here a minute.
This
Now I'm
episode's already
jumping.
way off the rails.
Yeah.
it's off the rails.
Which, hey, it's a podcast, right?
Yeah.
That's what all the ones I listen to.
We're talking off the side of the highway right now.
Yeah, that's all right. We're right.
We
into
should
the
talk
ditch.
down the highway.
Talking on the shoulder.
Okay, well, Glenn was trying to do my job for me. I will determine when we go to a break. And I think it's about time for a break because you know what?
Convenient, Murray.
We're going to get into some talking. Again, this is our first content episode, and so we don't want to keep you waiting too long. Some of you are like, when are they going to get to Surfin Safari? And we're going to get to Surfin Safari. We're going to go on safari to stay.
We're going to talk all the way to the fireworks factory.
All the way there with
Yep.
Poochie in tow. Yep.
Yep.
So, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to talk about Surfin Safari. And we're back talking Surfin Safari. Before we get into Surfin Safari, again, a little bit of context here. In our first episode, we discussed who, in fact, these young beach boys are, and they are boys, just wee lads, really. Little Carl's only like 4 years old, apparently, shredding on the guitar.
Yeah.
Good Carl, as we've established. You got drummer Denny.
I think you breeze through that. He's freaking 14, and he's rocking out these surf rocks.
I think we're subtracting 10 years. So he's 4.
He's 4.
Dennis would be what?
Okay.
6?
Anyways, these
like that.
solos are Carl.
Yeah. So you got Denny drummer, Brian bass, microphone Mike,
Brian's 10 years old.
and you got the little neighborhood boy, David Marks, on the rhythm guitar.
6 months old.
Yeah, we were talking in the last episode. Like you usually see him referred to as the neighbor boy or whatever. And literally, I'm looking at the back cover of the album, and here's the sentence on the thing. The remaining member of the Beach Boys is young David Marks, a neighbor of the Wilsons, who plays a driving rhythm guitar.
Nice.
Even on the back cover of their first album, they're still just calling, he's just the neighbor kid. Like,
Neighbor kid.
Yep. Well, they didn't have a fifth, relative, so they just found the closest thing, a neighbor, some random kid. But he's a good neighborhood boy.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's good.
he seems like a nice kid.
Yeah, here's the thing about these early Beach Boys. The thought of that, like remembering where they are around this genesis, is just bizarre. Because Mike's working at a gas station. He's what, like 20-something? 20?
He's got to be at least 40 because he's balding.
But so he's like out of high school.
Yeah.
He's working a job, so he's got to be kind of like the
GED.
older one.
Oh, GED?
Yeah,
Wow.
Really?
I don't know.
Homeschool. Crayon diploma.
Sarcasm is too thick, too early in the podcast. So Brian's the oldest brother.
Hold on. Tim was so excited about that. Like, he thought, here's a whole other avenue, a whole new lane, right?
What?
GED?
Okay.
He was excited.
Well, it was about to explain so much. Yeah.
But like, really, the Beach Boys really are boys. They're high school kids. Carl is 14 years old. Dennis is what, 16, 17?
Sure, yeah.
And at this
He's
time,
got the
they're putting
voice of
out
like a
record.
50-year-old.
Right. Already. Yeah. Yeah.
But fascinating. I think I like in my mind to think that Mike Love is kind of like the creepy older dude that hangs around with the high school kids and is
Basically,
like,
yeah.
I get older.
You're not using your
same.
imagination at all. That's
Right.
literally what's happening here.
And like, because at this point, Mike Love is like, hasn't he like impregnated a girl, and he needs to like get serious and like make something.
He's got to start riding on the coattails of his talented cousins.
And so let's put an album together. Right. We got something hot. We got Brian's talent. Let's write some songs.
But you're right about like the skill level for being so young. Like in Carl particularly, he's like a pretty good guitar player.
Right.
And Brian obviously, I mean, he's like 20, but like he's got the skills vocally, arrangement wise, and bass playing.
And Dennis is like not like he's just there, but he's a brother, and so he's figuring out how to play drums.
I think he's pretty good.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
that's my point.
Yeah, he's not. He's great.
Again, they're high school kids.
He's a really
and
good
they're making,
surf drummer. Yeah,
and they're making this album that is an iconic album. Maybe iconic isn't.
Yeah,
the
you
right
might be
word,
giving a little too much credit.
but
yeah, I mean, they're just kids. I mean, they are actual beach boys. Well, they're boys. They're not super beachy. We talked about that in the first episode. But anyway, they're boys. They're making music. They start kind of in the home. You know, making some recordings in the garage. Then they get kind of a little bit of momentum when manager Murray, sticking with that alliteration again, it's like, oh, these kids have got some talent. I know some people who have a studio. I'm gonna have them go over there and record some demos, basically, right?
And I wanted to say that there's something that is a little bit bizarre even this early on, and that was my point, is that they're high school kids. They're young. And yet, I'm going to refer to it a couple times in here. You may not like it, but like at this point in their journey, I'm getting Shags like things. I am. I'm sorry you don't like it, but like I get a sense that these guys are really naive and innocent, and like they don't know anything, or not all of them, but there's like this.
There's a bizarro world sort of parallel going on where like, yeah, the Beach Boys are young and sort of made into a show family, but they happen to be really, really good. The Shags were very much pressured and also abused and to be a band, but they
were.
I mean, they couldn't play very well, but really when you listen very carefully, they were good too, but just in a completely weird way.
And I think that's what's some of the allure for these early albums are for me and the Beach Boys, is I'm kind of looking at them in that vein. Like these are just some kids in the garage, like messing around, and they're used to being forced to sing around the piano at Christmas time harmonies. And let's add some instruments and see what happens.
Yeah, there's like a novelty or sideshow quality to it. Yeah.
That's kind of what this era is for me.
Yeah, so they go into the studio for the first time. They're recording with, I think it's Height and Dorinda Morgan are their names. And you can hear these recordings. A few years ago, they put this stuff out on a little compilation called Becoming the Beach Boys. And if you're like a super, super fan, well, you probably already heard it, but it's just basically take after take after take of about 7 or 8 different songs. It's intermittently interesting, but it's just kind of the square or step one, basically, to hear them as studio artists, like the first time that this little project of brothers and such just turned into something that might be polished enough to become marketable.
And going back to sort of like the legendary, however things happened, legend has it that Dennis, being the one who actually did surf a little bit, is the one who suggested that Brian write a song about surfing. Yeah. Which he titled Surfin'.
Genius.
And that kind of set
and that's where the whole genius myth starts. Yeah.
But that sort of cemented like the subject matter, and they were considered a very early surf rock band, not the first.
No.
But that was kind of where the surfing part came to be. And that was their first song was Surfin', and that's what a lot of those takes are on that sort of demo reel thing.
Correct. And if I'm correct on this, that recording that they made as the quote-unquote demo, the last take of it, became a single. They put that out. It was a respectable regional hit, and it attracted the attention of Capitol Records. Okay. They get signed, and here now they are.
And that was Al Jardine on upright bass, I believe. I don't think Marcus was involved.
Yeah. Al was still in the band for that, correct. But Al goes off to become a dentist. We'll never hear from him again. And now they've signed to Capitol Records and have this chance now to go into the studio and record an LP. And that LP is Surfin' Safari, and we're here to talk about it today.
Yeah.
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 And we're done.
That's it.
It exists. I was just going to say that, Surfin', albeit it was the first song they recorded, it was not the title track and it was not track one, because what ended up being that was a better song.
Correct.
Like,
yeah. Surfin' would have been a weird
refined.
way to start the album off, just because
Yeah.
it does feel kind of primitive, I
Right.
guess, maybe compared to everything else. It's a studio recording, but it's not a polished studio recording in the way that the other tracks here are.
And yet Capitol gets their attention. Do you think Capitol is like trying to capitalize on... Ooh, no, I did not do that.
Back-to-back episodes, Glenn, with
Sorry.
terrible puns.
Is this them just saying, "Hey, I can see this surf craze," or do they see glimpses of the genius here?
No, nobody, I don't think, could listen to Surfin' and be like, this is a budding genius. It's a catchy little song that was about a current craze, big in Southern California. It attracted a little bit of an audience. Again, sort of a regional hit. And Capitol says, yeah, we have something here that we can sell some records.
We can sell.
Back then, if you were, 5 kids who knew how to play some instruments and write a couple catchy songs, you got a record deal.
Pretty much. Like, yeah.
Just knock on the door.
Just
It's like,
the way it works.
Excuse me, sir. We would like a record deal, please.
No,
And they'd be
it
like,
actually works the
"Yes."
other way around.
Oh.
Like, they'd just bang on the door of your garage and be like, "Hey, we hear some music.
We heard someone
here's
practicing."
your record deal." Yeah, which cool. I wish I grew up in that time.
Right.
But yeah, no. So they're on Capitol now. They're
how many of these
recording
tracks?
artists.
How many of these tracks do they have in their back pocket? How many of these do they have to crank out to put out a full album?
That's a good question. I don't have a definitive answer, but I think they cranked pretty much all of these out. I don't know. Surfin' Safari would have been. I think that's on that demo thing.
It is, but I think all they recorded in that first session was Surfin', like the actual first recording session. I could be wrong.
Yeah. But those demos predate this set of recordings that became this album. So I know Surfin' Safari was part of that. They had Surfer Girl is
Right.
part of that, and then they didn't return to that song until their third album.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I think we should take through this track by track. I want to talk about...
Yes, but let's get anything else that we have to say about Surfin' out of the way. Only because even though it's not the first song on the album, it is the first recording. And so let's maybe just kind of talk about what is it that we hear in this song, or what is it maybe the Capitol Records heard in the song that made them think, all right, this is kind of cool. We can...
It's got the vocal prowess at a certain early level. They're borrowing already from some contemporaries. That ball doop 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 is something that Mike Love was sort of like trying to ape a Jan and Dean song. And I don't know, they were just laying the groundwork for the whole let's propagate this myth of the California lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's catchy.
It's not rock and roll though. Like you mentioned already, Al's playing an upright bass on it.
Yeah.
It's an acoustic guitar. There's like a really quiet organ sound in there. The drums, I think, are just brushed. Like it's not a rock and roll song in the way that even Surfin' Safari is going to be.
Right.
But it's catchy.
And maybe that's the allure to it, is that up until now we have a lot of surf rock is really just kind of like, I don't know, it's who is it at this point?
Well,
it's Dick
Dick
Dale.
Dale.
It's,
Yeah.
Are the Gamblers even more than a
Moondog.
regional? Yeah.
A regional, yeah. But
So Jan and Dean maybe is starting to put like surf guitar songs with lyrics on it now, and so maybe this is just another take on that craze of what is
More
California.
just more doo-wop, I guess. This song.
It's like a doo-wop version
Exactly.
of
Yeah.
most of what it would have been called surf music up to that point was instrumental.
right. And so
Dick Dale, The Ventures
Right.
were recording by this point. Jan and Dean, I'm not intimately familiar with the history of them. I don't know if they were necessarily doing anything that was surf related or
I don't
even
believe
sort of
so.
Southern California culture related yet
Right.
at that point.
Because they eventually started to intermingle with Brian himself, and they
Correct,
became more of a surf rock band. And he co-wrote. He actually gave them songs.
Surf City, yeah.
Surf City and Dead Man's Curve. I think that might have been more of a collaboration. But Surf City is a song that Brian wrote but didn't finish, kind of got bored with it and was like, hey, you guys take this. And that guy finished it off.
I need to finish Chug-a-Lug.
All I have to say is that I've been singing "Ball Ball" derp, 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 all week.
It's kind of an earworm.
It is. It is. Yeah. And that's surfing,
Yeah. So it's kind of its own thing. It really feels separate from this album, even though it's right in the middle of it. But yeah, it's fine. Let's take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about side one. And we're going to go through all these songs and share some thoughts on them.
Welcome back to Talking Down the Highway. We're talking about Surfin Safari, side one. Everything has a side, because that's the way it was then, and I still think about music in those terms. First half, and this is the song that is better than the previous song.
It sounds like you're just like
just wait for someone else to say something. That's all.
You were all alone out there, Tim. Yeah. Side one. Go ahead.
We're talking sides. Like, I don't know for y'all, for me.
Don't even.
Sometimes you got a piece of toast, and it's a little bit more, toasty on one side than the other.
But then when you drop it
always lands butter side down.
Surfin Safari sets the stage.
It does.
This is it. The guitar's great in it. I don't know what a safari has to do with surfing, but
yeah. I mean, so the structure of the song, I like. It's not too far off from just like a 12-bar blues progression, but what they did, and maybe this was common at the time, I don't know, you kind of put the chorus right at the start as like a teaser for the song. Right. Well, let's go surfing now. Mm-hmm. And then you go into like sort of verses and choruses and stuff, but just putting the hook at the front, I think, is a smart move. That's immediately what you think of when you think of this song, is just that part.
Yeah, it's rocking.
And then it launches into the song itself. But yeah,
it's a good song. For me, it's easily the best thing. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about 409 here before too long, and that's good too. But to me, this one's a pretty clearly the best one on the album. It's driving. It's got some propulsive element to it. The harmonies are good. Even Mike Love sounds all right on it. Mm-hmm. He's not as like weirdly nasally as maybe I don't know. The song Surfin' sounds very. We're just kind of learning how to do this, and we sound kind of really hesitant. But Surfin' Safari, that there's a sense of confidence, I guess.
It feels more polished.
Yeah. And they sound more like a band here, too. Like, they're playing electric guitars, electric bass. Right. There's more to the drums than there was in the little like skiffle thing that was going on in Surfin'. It just feels a little more like a rock and roll song.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the Beach Boys drop a single, Surfin'. Yeah. Then here we get the LP. We got Surfin' Safari too. We've got guys with surfboards and pith helmets on the cover. Mm-hmm.
They're not wearing any helmets.
No. Okay, but they're on a safari.
They're like, we're okay being typecast.
We got Surfin' Safari. Oh yeah, give me some more.
All we're gonna do is we're ever gonna do is talk about
surfing because we are the Beach Boys. Yep. We have created a niche.
We have driven an old pickup truck onto the sand. And we are gazing across the waters of the ocean.
Let's keep it going. Mm-hmm. Track 2.
We'll also go to a county fair.
Okay, county fair.
It's on the way to the beach.
Wait, I don't. So what? What just happened?
Yeah.
We go to track 2, and now we're talking about the county fair. Which is this? Is this maybe some premonition? Is this like a foreshadowing of the career of Mike Love? Playing county fairs for the rest of his life.
I hadn't even really thought about this coming full circle.
It's full circle. Yeah.
There you go.
Here you go. Right off the bat.
His career almost begins with county fair, and it will
And,
of course, certainly end with County Fair.
just played the county fair, the Oregon County Fair.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Or the State
Oregon
Fair?
State Fair.
Yeah,
Oregon State Fair.
Oh, so that's the big time.
Oh, he's made the
when it
big
comes to
time.
fairs,
Yeah.
it's a state level.
When they come to Clackamas.
Yeah.
But this song County Fair is I mean, we talk about weirdness.
Yeah. So weird.
Like a county fair isn't weird, but it's weird to write a whole song about it.
And it's just a weird song.
And it's a weird song too.
Well, this is where, like, right off the bat, they're like, all right, 2 songs into our career, we're going to let you know that we're pretty fucking weird.
And like square.
Oh, yeah. And embrace it.
Yeah, there's a lot of squareness on this album.
And not just that, but they're serious about it. That's what's so intriguing and fascinating to me. It's like with a straight face, they're like, this is cool.
Right.
And
Because Brian would like fixate on things, I think, and he'd have to write a song about it,
Right.
Kind of like get little obsessions going. And yeah.
Okay, so can we talk about the whole talking drama parts?
Yeah,
about it?
let's talk about the merits of the song. We've established it's weird, but...
Which, again, that's part of my, back and forth. We talk about good, bad, This song gives a lot of Shangri-Las to me. There's this melodrama, which
there's
I
the
think
storytelling.
Yeah, that's kind of going on at the time, and if you can embrace that and appreciate that.
Well, the Shangri-Las, I'd say maybe melodrama, but here it's just situational comedy or something it's just dorky
Step
comedy
right up.
stuff.
Comedy burger.
The guy's he's worried about going his girlfriend wants him to win her a prize, and he's kind of carefully avoiding those booths,
Right,
so he doesn't
right.
have to show her what a wuss he is or whatever. He can't throw a dart.
Right.
That's the narrative of the song. Eventually, they get to the strength tester, which has a
hammer.
name, but I can't remember the name.
The hammer bell hammer.
Like
I don't know.
But he can't get out of it.
Ring the bell. Yeah.
Can't get out of it, and he fails to ring the bell, and he's embarrassed, and some big, stronger guy does it and gets the girl.
Ooh.
Hey, haven't we all been there before, right?
Always losing my girls to big, strong guys.
I know.
Wait, who wrote this song?
Well, Brian wrote it with a guy named Gary Usher.
Okay.
But this is one of the examples of Brian writing a song for Mike Love to sing that makes Mike Love look like a chump.
Yeah, which is a calculated move.
Is this
can't
the
not be,
genesis
right?
of it? Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. But yeah, structurally, the quote-unquote chorus is like a carnival barker. Step right up kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so Mike Love has
I think
to
they
sing
actually
about
got Tom Waits to do that part. Yeah.
being a chump. That's hilarious.
So that's the song. I mean, opinion-wise, I like this song.
Okay, so full disclosure, we recorded, we attempted to record this podcast a little bit ago, and it was kind of a, in the words of Dennis Wilson, it was a bunt instead of a grand slam. So we decided we were going to sort of redo it. And I kind of have gone back and listened to this album after having talked to you guys about County Fair. Maybe it's Stockholm Syndrome. I don't know. I feel like I get that a lot with the Beach Boys, but it's kind of grown on me. I used to think it was just so dumb.
I listened to it today.
It's not a bad song.
Well, you mean the song or the album as a whole?
The song.
Okay.
I still feel the same, I think, overall about the album.
Okay.
But yeah, the song is...
Sounds great. It's got
I don't know that I go great, but it's...
has a strong lead melody.
It's a good piece of pop music.
Yeah.
Especially for 1962. Yeah.
And it tells a story, and it's about Mike being humiliated.
Exactly.
It's solid.
Yeah. Everything you could want.
Exactly.
All right, so we're accepting, okay, yes, Surfin Safari. Okay, County Fair.
Yeah.
All right.
Because, I do remember reading that at some point, I don't think the label told them to write non-surf songs, but there was the idea of, well, if the surf stuff doesn't take off, maybe these other songs will take off, and that did not work out.
So let's experiment a little bit.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm going to say here is this: if this is as weird as they get, if this is as dumb and pointless as they get, I'm in. I'm good to go.
Okay.
So
County Fair.
I'm pretty sure they're
markers.
not going to get weirder than that.
Oh.
There's not going to be anything else on this
Well,
album.
let's drop the needle.
That you're more like, what are they thinking here, right?
And then track 3. 10 Little Indians.
Yeah, which problematic. But,
Okay,
I mean,
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But
definitely problematic, but it's 1960.
No. We're not doing
We're not doing that. Okay.
It's 1960. Everybody was singing mildly racist nursery rhymes as the third track on their first album. It's just the way that the times were.
I mean,
it
kind of was. We're not saying it was right.
But why does this song exist?
Well, right. And what makes it more egregious is that it's really not that great of a song.
No.
And, I've said this before, Harry Nilsson has a really, really great song called 10 Little Indians, which is essentially the same, Genesis, but...
It's not a little, nursery rhyme. Though.
Right,
it's an actual song.
See, that's my thing with this song that makes it so weird to me, is that this is the third track on their debut album. Here's your big shot. Capitol Records, give me the best of what you've got, and they sing a nursery rhyme.
And, I mean, to my point I made earlier about maybe the surf rock songs aren't the thing, this was the A side of a single
It was.
with County Fair on the B side, which I guess they put out both non-surf songs on the same thing, but it did not chart well. The 10
As it should not. It was...
So here's my guess: was Capitol maybe just trying to say we've got a novelty act on our hands?
Yeah.
We've got these teenage kids; they're clearly talented, but this is a novelty act. Let's milk it for what we can. I mean, we're talking about a time like there was like the Jolly Green Giant single for I think what Paul Revere and the Raiders. I want to say maybe right, and like there's just weird, goofy novelty stuff. You got to understand we're pre-Beatles here. And I know it's so easy to look at all of pop culture through the lens of the Beatles, but there's a reason why we've done it for all of these years, for 60 years. They really kind of changed in a lot of ways what was, I don't want to say acceptable, but like expectations for what an album could be, expectations for what pop music could be.
What a song could be about.
And also like for what the... I don't know, squareness quotient, I suppose, could be as well. Like, this is just, I think most people were still not looking at rock music or just even pop music as anything more than disposable. Let's make some money off of it while we
Something
can.
To play at the sock
and not the artists themselves, but the companies who were pushing it. And I think in this pair of songs, they thought, all right, one of these is going to, just be not just novel enough to where I don't know people maybe it'll be a small hit.
It's still high school, post high school kids doing a nursery rhyme. That's like a new artist coming out and seriously trying to play Baby Shark.
Well,
like seriously, and they're serious about it. Like Brian takes it so seriously.
To me, it feels kind of 50s. The idea of like. Yeah, let's cover this, stupid child.
It just seems weird to me. It seems a little dark.
So here's the thing, though. You're exactly right. It feels kind of 50s. And this is what I mean when I kind of start to bring the Beatles into the conversation is 1962 is way more like the 50s than it's like 1964.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, that's just how much the culture shift really kind of gets thrown into a different level.
Yeah.
By that point.
And if you need more evidence of that, we could continue to listen to Surfin Safari Side A.
We could. Really quickly, I do want to correct myself. It was not Paul Revere and the Raiders, but it was actually the Kingsmen. Portland band, of Louie Fame, of course, and connected very closely to Paul Revere and the Raiders. I wasn't completely off base. But anyway, they were the Jolly Green Giant band. But yeah. So anyway.
Jolly Green Giants, county fairs... Nursery rhymes, 10 Little Indians. What else could we explore?
Well, the very next song, Glenn, is about root beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which we all love.
Literally about root beer. Which is why we are drinking root beer right now.
It's the official drink of this podcast.
Give me some.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've been singing that for about 3 weeks straight.
Of course. And this is another great...
Bob, dip,
Wait, no, wrong
beer.
one. This is another very strange song that makes Mike Love seem very strange.
But no, this is cool because this is a coded song. This is really about being teenage rebels and drinking beer. beer.
really not.
This is how we can get it past the
It's so
censors.
It's literally about root beer.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah, it is.
Let's talk about it again on its musical merits.
Okay, I
Kind of good.
it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like it introduces the band. We get to hear a little bit about each of them.
And I like the little hooky part, that here a mug, there a mug, everybody chug a lug. I like that final little chord they hit, lug. Yeah, musically it's good, and Mike is doing some decent vocal work. He's the he's the bass.
He's the bass,
voice.
but he's the tenor.
He's
too.
also the tenor
Yeah.
lead, and he kind of alternates back and forth.
So weird.
Yeah,
And he's just really into root beer.
And he's really into root beer. See, okay, so I have in my notes here, when we started like thinking about what could this Beach Boys podcast be, I wrote down we should do a segment, like in addition to Heroes and Villains, we should do a segment called "Where's My Fucking Root Beer?" The Beach Boys' strange obsession of the day, because it feels like as we go on, they're gonna be obsessed with just weird, random stuff.
well, yeah. Brian specifically, and like I said, he gets fixated on things and writes songs about weird little things that you wouldn't normally write a song about, like root beer and the county fair.
Yeah, there's a lot of choices on this
Ooh, a
particular
lot of choices
album.
on this episode.
I don't know
of
what we're gonna
Where's
do
My
when we
Root
get to
Beer?
Love You. It's like,
Oh man,
Johnny
Jesus.
Carson.
yeah.
Yeah, so they're for some reason obsessed with root beer.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
I'm here for it.
It's really cool.
Because we don't have enough rock and roll songs about root beer. We really don't.
That trend needs to come back. It was never a trend, but it needs to happen.
It should have been a trend.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's a lot worse on this album than Chug a Lug. Even though there's nothing particular. No, I mean, it's immediately much, much better than 10 Little Indians. We'll give it that.
Yeah.
It's dumb as all hell. It's so dorky.
You know what I think the
It's
funniest
square,
part about
yeah.
this is? The funniest part of this is Brian Wilson writes this song, Chug a Lug. Gary Usher, too, maybe, I think.
Let's see.
We got to talk a little bit about Gary Usher because he was not popular, right,
Usher
with
as
with the father figure, right?
Right, and we'll get to that a little bit coming up. But like, I think the funny part about this song, Chug a Lug, is that Brian writes it, but Mike Love comes back and sues in the 90s to get songwriting credits for Chug a Lug.
Because he wants everyone to know that he really does like
I'm
root
the one
beer.
who loves root beer.
In case there was any controversy, let's get the record straight. I want those royalties, those sweet royalties.
Yeah, I mean, he likes money more than root beer, probably.
Right, right.
Yeah, anyway.
Because he was retroactively granted after suing his own cousin for songwriting royalties.
If you co-author a masterpiece like Chug a Lug, you want to make sure you get credit for that. Like when he dies, that will be one of the first things on his obituary. Writer of such hits as Chug a Lug. Yeah, I almost just called it the root beer song.
That's in parentheses. Chug a Lug, the root beer song.
So hey, Dad's root beer. If you're out there and you need a
Hey, let's keep it moving along because we're next one, Mama Miss America. That's something
gross.
else. Little Miss America.
Little girl, you're my Miss America.
Yes.
Yeah.
Weird, gross,
So yeah,
creepy.
Well,
Creepy?
the thing is, like, I don't know, little girl, I feel like it was a term like back then that was thrown around to not just mean like children, but
Yeah, I mean,
it
Little
could
Child on the second Beatles album.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't get creeped out. It's just part of the language.
Right, and it could refer to it. I mean, he's a teenager. Maybe this is about he didn't write the song. It's a Herb Alpert
song, right?
But what I like about it is that it's Dennis singing lead.
Yeah,
and it's the first Dennis song.
Love me some Dennis.
You know, if you are kind of following along their career, Dennis, you know, he has this gravelly voice, sort of unmistakable voice in, you know, later songs that he sings. This one, he's a kid. He's trying to sound smooth. He's definitely going for the
Right.
You can barely hear a little bit of the gravel in his voice, but he's going for something that would not end up sort of being his style. So I think that's kind of interesting. But I think he does a great job on the vocal.
Yeah, it's inconsequential for me at least.
Yeah.
Sure.
There's not much to it.
But hey, we need to sing about girls because we're the Beach Boys, and that's
really not a lot of
SoCal
surfing
culture.
on this first side.
No, very little. It ends with a
Yeah.
Sort of a banger, I guess,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah.
Totally.
409's pretty sharp.
It's I mean, it could be a tie for number one for me. I don't know why I like their car songs. They're like hot rod songs a lot. But yeah, 409, also co-written by Usher. I think he was really the car guy.
Yeah, this is what I was going to say. Matt alluded to this earlier that Gary Usher was kind of like the outsider
Right.
that maybe Murray didn't like. He was not the neighborhood boy.
He was the bad neighborhood.
He was
boy.
the bad neighborhood.
He was the one who had
trouble.
the cigarettes rolled up in the.
Well, I think this is what's kind of funny. Like Brian has all these like ideas, all these songs, this music in his head, and they're like, "Well, what should we write it about?" And Dennis was the first to shout, "Let's write about surfing." And then they're like, "Well, other people are into hot rods. Let's try this."
Like, let's sing about root beer.
Let's sing about root beer. Right. And so they're all throwing out ideas. So, well, one of their buddies, Gary Usher, he's a car, gearhead, whatever. So they bring him over and say, "Hey, make us sound like we know what we're talking about, cars."
Well, yeah, and I was going to say that the genius move of bringing in like a real car guy is that he knows all these terms.
Sure.
Like the car songs are full of all this like terminology
Right.
that like I don't know what it all means, but it sounds cool. The 4-speed dual quad posi traction 409,
Right,
like
right,
that all
right.
has actual meaning.
Right.
And he knew the terminology, and that was that's why the lyrics work, and that's why they were authentic to
Right,
the real
right.
hot rod guys.
Sure. Yeah. And that it took off. And,
It's also kind of interesting in that it like introduces this sort of recurring theme throughout the Beach Boys, and that Brian will often work with an outside of the band collaborator,
Right.
On lyrics.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, Gary Usher here, Tony Asher with Pet Sounds, of course, Van Dyke Parks on Smile. This is going to create a bit of a rift, right? It seems.
maybe.
I mean, we know obviously Van Dyke Parks' presence on the
Sure.
Smile project definitely
Is-
creates a rift.
Yeah.
Mike was always at best lukewarm to Pet Sounds.
Right. Well,
What would Mike's take have been at this point? I guess maybe if either of you have insight into that.
Well,
with Gary Usher collaborating, was he?
oh yeah, no. Mike seeks out Usher too. That's the thing. Like, I read somewhere there's a story of Mike sitting down with with his friends, say, "Hey, give me some places we could go." We'll talk about that. That's how he got Surfin' USA. Like he would bring in his friend and help him. What are some surf spots? And so like Mike was kind of that too, but he sucks, and so he writes songs about root beer. So we need to find Tony Asher and other people to be a little bit more sophisticated. But at this time, Gary Usher is a gearhead, so he's helping. But like my favorite part about the 409 story is that Murray hates this bad boy, and yet Brian and the guys are always kind of sneaking him over when when Murray's out of town or whatever. And like as the story goes, Brian gets an extension cord, brings his tape recorder out into the driveway, and Gary comes over with his hot rod, starts doing burnouts in the driveway. So like those actual field recordings on 409 is them in their neighborhood in Hawthorne, this little suburb, at 2 a.m. doing burnouts. Teenage boys, good times.
Kids are still doing that in
Those
Portland, Oregon.
Kids these days, so good. Love that.
Well, hey, that wraps up side one, or
Yup.
the A side,
The
if you
A-side.
will. Let's take a quick break, and we'll come back for the second side.
All right, here we are, talking down the highway. I'm Glenn.
Hi,
Tim.
Glenn.
Hi, Tim. Hi, Matt.
Hi.
B-side.
We're so good at
We are
this.
so good at these transitions. Hey, so you start the A side with Surfin' Safari. You end it with 409. I don't know. Maybe 409 should have been the first song on the flip side,
I've thought that too,
right?
actually.
Like, hey, surf guys, you get side A if you wanna hear the. I mean, those are the best two tracks, I think. Surfin' Safari and 409. But for whatever reason, they start the B side with Surfin'.
Which is a prequel to Surfin' Safari.
Hey. So we've already done that. We've already
good there.
talked about Surfin'. The second song, Heads You Win, Tails I Lose.
All right.
Okay.
I would say relatively inconsequential, but not in a negative, not leaning toward negative, just really being sort of neutral.
Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, they were trying to write songs about everyday phrases and like being clever and stuff.
Sure.
This is another Gary Usher collaboration, right?
Yeah.
You know, Gary's pulling some weight here.
He is.
I think
Good
it's
for
time
him.
for an episode of Heroes and Villains.
Yes.
All right, it's time for Heroes and Villains. This is where we talk about the heroes and the villains of whatever it is we're discussing this week. And of course, we're talking about Surfin Safari. Gary Usher is a hero.
Hey.
I mean,
Sure. I could get behind that.
he's making some positive contributions. Let's keep
He's
in mind,
mixing it up.
they're having to write these songs super, super quick. I mean, you got a record label demanding a product, and Gary Usher steps in and says, "Hey, I can help out."
Gary Usher rolls up his sleeves and
With the
says,
cigarettes in 'em.
With the cigarettes
Yep.
in him, says, "Let's get this done, boys."
Boys, let's smoke this pack and
That's
knock
right.
these bitches out. Yeah.
Wait.
And he does. He does.
And like it's
Not.
and it's like
That's Murray's thing. Anyway.
All right. So where there's a hero, there also has to be a villain. And the villain this time is, of course,
Mike Love.
Mike Love.
Yeah.
Right?
Wait. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know, I've got a little bit of a theory here. Now, first off, Mike is always the villain.
He's always
we know
the villain.
this.
Yeah.
Sometimes there will be another episode-specific villain. We've already established Murray's a bastard. Murray is a perpetual villain too. Sure. There's nobody else who's coming to mind really to add into this mix this time.
Heroes and Mike Love.
But here's the thing. This is the point in which I'm going to give Mike Love the most credit for providing some important value.
Yeah.
We've established already that Brian is 99% of the talent of this group. Okay? And this is as somebody who really likes Carl and Dennis.
Yeah.
But Brian is still 99% of the talent in this band. But talent sometimes will only get you so far. Sometimes you need a little bit of direction, a little bit of ambition, a little bit of drive. Now, ambition to one person becomes perhaps, I don't know, manipulation and weird shit to another, or you know, the whole power corrupts thing, right? But
Bullying,
Mike Love
yeah.
is providing some usefulness for the band. He's helping to provide, I think, some direction at this point.
Little drive.
A little bit of that pep talk, like, "Hey guys, we can do this." He's sort of like, he's the front man,
He's
right?
got nothing else to live for.
Well, exactly. He's got no other prospects. It's either this band is going to work out, or I go back to that gas station and I don't know that they would rehire me. So this has to work out, kind of thing. And I think, look, I do not care for this man. Okay, and this is putting him mildly, but I think this is the point in the career where Mike Love provides a service.
Right.
In that he helps to pull them out of the garage, if you will, and into the realm of professional recording artists.
Yeah.
If he had stepped aside at this point, I'd probably, look back and say, that Mike Love guy was all right. He doesn't.
yeah.
He doesn't. But here, that ambition, that drive,
Yeah.
for wherever
Is
it's coming
needed.
from, it is helpful in turning this into a real functioning band.
Right. And we talked about his vocal contributions, which I think worked really well for this era of the band. When they, like a lead singer was, I don't know, kind of a need, I think.
Yeah.
And also, I want to say that this era is probably the best Mike felt about, you know what I mean? Like, this was like the halcyon days where, like, we're the Beach Boys, I'm the singer, this is great. And which would not always be the case.
No.
And his attitude would turn quite a bit.
Sure.
But he still came back and sued his own cousin.
This is
that's
true.
what I'm
Heroes
saying.
and
So
Villains,
he's
we're
the
still-
villain.
we're
He's the
still-
villain.
Yes, of course he is.
He's the villain.
Of course.
Excellent episode of Heroes and Villains.
Yeah.
Gary Usher
All right.
into the annals of heroes. Great.
All right. All right. Back to side two here. So, Summertime Blues. Do we have much to say there?
It's a cover. You got David and Carl singing, but they don't sound very into it. to
Eddie
me.
Cochran's is
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's kind of there. There's not a whole lot to add. All right. We got a little bit of an oddity here.
Cuckoo Clock. Cuckoo Clock. This is good.
Right. And it was written about Murray's Mina Bird.
Right.
But in the context of the song, the story it tells is about a cuckoo clock annoying a couple trying to get busy.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, here's another one where I can see them just kind of like
Hold on,
being kids.
Just to put it here, of course, which means holding hands.
Oh,
right,
getting busy. Yes,
this is 1962.
We're square.
They were simply trying to hold hands.
Keep it clean. Yeah.
He says we just got situated. He's talking about our hands were almost touching, but not quite.
Of course, Murray has a Mina bird.
I wonder what that bird said. Like what would that bird have overheard and repeated at the dinner table?
So you hear stories about like Andrew Jackson had a parrot, and like apparently his parrot got kicked out of Jackson's own funeral because it had such foul language. No pun intended. But anyway, you kind of wonder that bird probably insulted Dennis on like a daily basis.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's great.
But this song, there's another weird ass song that I love, and it's the first real Brian lead vocal. Love the melody, his little cuckoo, cuckoo, like he really hits those high notes. And I don't know, anytime he's singing lead, I just automatically like the song.
Yeah, it's all right. All right, Moondog.
It's great. I mean, it's a cover.
It's a cover. This is the Gamblers. Gamblers, who originally did this track, they're kind of like a local Southern California kind of regional
This is
hit.
probably gave him a little boost.
First introduction of our friend Bruce Johnston. Bruce Johnston was in the Gamblers.
Oh, I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah. So there's our connection. He'll come in later.
Gigantic head.
Big-headed replacement singer Bruce Johnston. But Moondog, they have the actual like barking dog in the background that's sort of what inspired our little intro music.
Did the Gamblers version have a dog barking? See, because that feels like Beach Boys to me. That feels kind of hokey. Like, oh yeah, here's a song called Moondog. Let's add a dog. Yeah. Like, let's check it out. And but I will say, like, I kind of get a vibe here.
They're already on track for Pet Sounds.
I get a sense that Brian would be a really good like DJ. Like, I would love to have Brian DJ, like, my party. And because I think he would, like, pick cool songs and, like, introduce people to...
He would probably just play Be My Baby over...
Probably. It would be a little obsessive. But, like, he's got his finger on the pulse, man, of Southern California. This is a song that's a hit.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, I wonder if many people have heard this. We got a record deal with Capitol. We can kind of show off. Here's some surf hits. Moondog, good stuff.
Yeah, I think they'll do surf rock better on the next album that we'll talk about in the next podcast. Sure. They're still pretty tentative as a band on this record.
Yeah,
but I think they sound a lot. Well,
they do.
We'll get there next.
They do,
week,
but Carl's guitar is still.
I was going to say, these last couple tracks have some good guitar work from Carl. Final track, The Shift, which I think is a type of dress, and it really turns them on.
Ooh,
yeah. Which just means that gets them real cranked up to hold hands.
Yeah. What? Yeah. This is weird. The Shift. See, okay. One thing I do like about this one.
We got Glenn, the Puritan over there on the couch.
Hey, I'm just saying the Shift. You're shifting gears. Maybe you're going up and down. Compositionally, this song is really interesting. It's like changing keys all the time. It's like going up and down, and it's not a rock song. It's weird. It's like, this is intriguing to me. I don't know.
It's kind of forgettable. Like, I literally now can't even hear it in my head.
I agree, but it's also. Sometimes for me, the final track of an album, if it's not a real attention getter, I will tend to forget. Like, and this is after like an instrumental, and then something that's whatever. So yeah.
All
right, that's the B-side.
Yeah, that's the B-side. And altogether, that gives us Surfin Safari.
What a safari! Let's talk.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's
cover here,
it's time for an episode of Sound and Vision.
Yeah. Sound and Vision. This was where we discuss all things aesthetic using the David Bowie scale. Best score you can get is
low.
David Bowie's masterpiece. The worst score you can get is
Never Let Me Down,
in which David Bowie definitely let us down. And in the middle, when we're okay with it, we're like, Let's dance.
Let's dance.
Why not? All right, Surfin Safari album cover. Knowing that we're going a little long on the conversation here today, guys, so
Purely
quickly.
for the Pendletons, low.
I say let's dance because, they're driving an automobile on the sand, which is probably not environmentally sound.
And no pith helmets.
Right.
That's a letdown.
No, and it's kind of hazy skies.
Oh,
It's
that's
not,
great.
not sunny Southern California.
See, I like
That's
a good...
It's better for that.
I
yeah.
like a good location shot. Like you can go to this place, like, and feel like you're part of this moment. Like you can recreate. I think they even have a statue there, or a plaque or something. You can go there and see the spot. I give it a low.
I mean, I'm giving it a let's dance.
Pendleton shirts, Michael Scott fun jeans.
Hey,
Let's dance. It's a good let's dance. I want to say low, but it's a good let's dance. Yeah, I'm sorry, but
that's
it tops out there. All right, well, hey, let's talk then, I guess, about this album score. We got to rate it. We explained this rating system that we have in our introductory episode. You can find the infographic, if you will, pinned on our Instagram page at Talkin' Beach Boys. We got to give it a rating here, guys.
Well, I know mine. So you were talking about the song County Fair, how you sort of reevaluated it and you like it more than you did. I kind of feel that way about the whole album.
Really?
I listened to it on the way over today, and after listening to some Surfin' USA, and just as a whole, I think I actually like this one better in sense of like just overall mood and goofiness and catchiness.
Okay.
It's less ambitious and less. I don't know. The fact that it's so kind of loosey-goosey and unserious is part of its appeal. So I've gone from, I would have given it a solid Bruce Johnston. I'm going to go for an Al Jardine.
Wow.
Ooh, 3.5. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Bump it
That
up.
was unexpected.
I can see that because I think there's a part of me that has a little bit of fondness for the goofiness of it and the weirdness of it. And but just for the gambler's nod, I'm gonna go Bruce Johnston. I'm gonna give it a 3. I mean, we're gonna see more of Brian's genius. I would hate for people to see me rate this too high and think I can start here with the Beach Boys.
Yeah. I don't want to jump the gun, I guess. I think there's a charm to this album, but I also think there's a charm to Bruce Johnston, despite his enormous fucking head. And so I feel like that's the perfect rating for this one. In fact, I'd put it as a kind of a lower scoring Bruce Johnston. But I've also looked at the whole listened to the whole catalog recently, and so I'm thinking like, all right, how does this work in comparison to, for instance, something like Friends or Carl and the Passions or whatever. And for me, it's like I know that they're gonna do a lot better.
Right.
I know that there's
Got to give yourself some headroom.
yeah, exactly. Like calibration, I guess, is the way I'm looking at this. And having just gone through the whole catalog, I'm very comfortable in the lower realm of Bruce Johnston here.
But it's on the top
it's a Bruce
half.
Johnston. It's more than a David Marks. But it's a Bruce Johnston. Which, again, perfectly. There's nothing wrong, especially for an album of almost all originals recorded in 1962
Great.
Yeah.
by a band of teenagers.
14-year-old
Bruce Johnston
Carl.
is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Baby Carl is doing all right. All right. Well, hey, let's take one last break. We're going to come back to wrap it all up here in just a minute. Back on the Strange Currencies podcast to wrap up episode 2, Surfin Safari. We did it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, something like that.
Millions of followers on our Instagram are applauding right now.
We've already got 40 million followers.
40 million
Crazy.
followers already. Yeah. Go to @Talkin' Beach Boys on Instagram. Check out the memes. Check out the goodness.
Check out strangecurrenciesmusic.com
where
you'll
catalog
find
crawl.
that catalog crawl of the Beach Boys and a lot of non-Beach Boys material as well, too.
And also at Strange Currencies Music on Instagram.
Hey.
Yep.
That's right.
All right. Well, hey, for Talking Down the Highway, a Beach Boys podcast, I'm Matt.
I'm Glenn.
I'm Tim.
Let's go Surfin' USA.